What's up, everybody? J Heat Sports Media coming at y'all again with that fire as always, spitting the hot topics and getting the sports conversation started. Y'all know what I'm talking about: football, basketball, and boxing. Want to get into boxing. A lot of major fights that were supposed to happen, now they're off the table in professional boxing. Are they going to happen or aren't they? What's happening with boxing? Let's get into it. So, boxing, the 135-pound division as well as the 147-pound division, lightweight, welterweight. Got some of the best boxers in the world at 135 pounds. You got Devin Haney, Gervonta Tank Davis. You also got Ryan Garcia, Vasily Lomachenko, and now Shakur Stevenson. At 147, you got Errol, Spence, and Terrence Crawford headlining that, plus Ortiz, Gerard Boots Ennis, all these guys that would be great fights to see. However, we just can't seem to get them. So Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence, that was supposed to be the biggest fight in boxing. It was supposed to happen in November. Then they talked about December, maybe January, and now it's not happening at all. As you know, if you've been keeping up, Bud is about to fight somebody in December. Truthfully, a no-name. On a network that ain't that big time either. Then Errol is talking about possibly moving up. They're trying to see if they can get him to fight Keith one-time Thurman, which he doesn't want to do. He's willing to vacate his belts if need be, from what rumors say. It's just a big mess. Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis, they were supposed to fight in January, and they're saying that might fall through. Recently, Ryan Garcia went to social media to talk about the state of boxing and how we need these big fights for boxing, how it's important that the best get to fight the best, which reminds me of how the promoters seem to be controlling this narrative. Leonard Ellaby recently on Twitter was talking about how the media and some fans don't seem to understand how boxing works. The fact that just because you are a good fighter or a great fighter doesn't mean you're a great attraction or a big attraction. See, to me, that's where we got it all wrong. Stephen A. recently was on First Take talking about how maybe they need somebody like a Dana White running things in boxing to make sure the best fight the best. Now, I get money is how the world goes around. I get that everybody is trying to make the best they can, and we want to protect the fighters. We don't want them just putting themselves in harm's way for no money whatsoever, but we do want them to still show up and show out at the right moment for these big time fights. Leonard Ellaby talked about how HBO and PBC, Al Heyman and the crew have put on these big time fights and have had some of the biggest gates ever, the highest pay-per-views ever. All of that is true, but sometimes, like the Mayweather-Pacquiao, it was way too late to see that fight. Now, I think the outcome would have still been the same earlier, but that's when we wanted to see it. The promoters, they're really focused on making as much money, not just for the fighters, but in my opinion, for them. They want these fighters to be big enough and known well enough that it's a huge attraction, and then they can get the maximum amount of money possible, which is cool in most circumstances. But every now and again, we got to find a balance where even if the fight isn't quite as big as we want it to be money-wise for these promoters, that we still can get these guys in the ring and have them fight the big fights. And then that, in my opinion, will help their names grow. People seeing them in these big-time fights, seeing them in these 50-50 matches where, like the UFC, you get the top fighters pretty instantly when the fans want to see it. If we get that in boxing, if we get Ryan Garcia and Tank happening immediately or as soon as possible, and we make sure that Errol and Terrence happens, that Canelo and Benavidez, that happens, these type of big fights will build the popularity of the sport and build the individual names of those fighters. Now, will that put some of these fighters at risk somewhat in dangerous fights? May they lose that 0 on their record? Sure. But they in the hurt business. That's what it's about. These guys are prize fighters. This isn't the WWE. This isn't entertainment. In WWE, it's entertainment first, and if you should happen to get hurt, that could happen because obviously they're athletes and these stunts are real. But in boxing, like the UFC, it's about hurting this guy, dominating your opponent first. And if you can seem to put on some entertainment in the process, then great. But it's a flip to it. So I just want to see the best fights like everybody else. Hopefully y'all do too. And hopefully we can get some great fights soon. Make sure you tune in Vasily Lomachenko this weekend. Should he win, he's going to be going against, hopefully, Devin Haney in the spring, which is a big-time fight. All right, that's all the time I got. Y'all know what it is, and you know what you're looking for. J-Heat Sports Media. Remember to like, subscribe, or hit the bell. Get in the comments. Let's go back and forth. Let's get these subscribers up. YouTube is home base, of course, but you know I'm on Instagram as well, at TheVaultJMU414 on Twitter, and of course, what's up TikTok? I'll holler at y'all next time.